Well, you certainly should be proud. And obviously, to understand going into that match, the third round this year, you had to start almost at the US Open in 2019, where you had that remarkable win against Roger. Tell us about that match and how that led you into playing Roger this year in the third round.
Oh, look, there was a lot of belief. There's always been a bit of belief in that matchup. I've always been someone, when I go onto the court, I want to control the controllables. That's one of my big mantras, and I don't want to play anyone's reputation. I've been lucky enough to play Roger on multiple occasions, and I've always kind of felt, as odd as it sounds against someone of the quality of Roger, I've always felt quite comfortable with the matchup. But obviously there's added expectations and pressures because, I managed to beat him at a Grand Slam before, and also playing in your own backyard in Australia, you want to do yourself proud in front of all the Australians who are cheering you on.
Dom, we just watched that fifth set and you got the early break 2-1 and weren't able to consolidate. Where were your nerves at that particular time, and how far ahead are you thinking when you got that break?
Oh, look, I felt like I had all that momentum going into that fifth set, which was a good effort because actually, if we backtrack one set before that, I thought I kind of won the fourth set kind of against the run because I thought Roger was actually starting to play some pretty good tennis. So it's always still, if you get that early break against someone like Roger, you're still a long way from the finish line. And this year at the Australian Open, I thought at night, especially on the show courts, the big courts, the conditions were quite slow, so there wasn't an easy thing as an easy hold. There was no such thing. So I knew there was still a long way to go. I don't really feel as if the nerves really played much of a factor, which was nice. And that was actually the case at the US Open also. I felt quite calm and controlled and really measured. And when you're thinking clearly, you're giving yourself the best chance to win. And I did think that throughout that match, even at the latter stages, I was thinking quite clearly and nerves weren't quite getting the best of me.
And it was an extremely physical match. We saw it go to that match tiebreak, 10-8 in the fifth set there. How did you recover, and what was the feeling, I guess, post-match, but then also the day after?
Yeah, I want to make those matches as physical as possible. There's no hiding that fact. I want the rallies to be physical. I want to be playing some really good tennis there. And unfortunately, during that match, actually, before the Australian Open started, I actually tore my calf muscle, and I turned that tear into a grade 2 tear. Now, I didn't really feel it throughout the match. I could feel it, but adrenaline kind of takes over. But 1 or 2 days later, getting up and out of bed and up and down stairs was actually a bit of a problem. So for the next few weeks, I was actually on the sideline, not really playing any tennis.
Had you have gotten through that match, would you have been okay to continue on the tournament? You mentioned that calf muscle that you had the issue with.
Yeah, look, I think adrenaline kind of takes over. It's not ideal, obviously, especially when I want to bring a brand of physicality to the court where, I'm moving and chasing down end-range balls. But it's not too dissimilar. Actually, I tore my obturator when I played Roger at the US Open. So it seems to be, that brand of tennis where I'm actually leaving absolutely everything I've got on the court out there. But you don't put yourself in deep positions at Grand Slams too often. So I think you play through the pain barrier and put the bit between the teeth and just carry on.
We love the way that you carry on. That's pretty certain. I mean, you went on to the Davis Cup, you got us through into the finals there, and then, of course, we're all in isolation. So how are you coping with it? We've been watching you do a bit of training and all sorts of things. I think we were doing some weights with your nephew. It's not easy in this period, is it?
Yeah, look, I was homeless for a bit there. I actually had rented out one of my places, so I've actually moved in with the sister, and my little nephew ends up being my little weights partner, so he's an absolute ripper. But look, the last memory I have of tennis is actually playing Davis Cup and representing the country. And if you're going to take an extended break like I am now, to have that as my lasting memory is actually a pretty good thing, and it gets you out of bed each day and it really keeps you motivated. So I'm trying to set little small goals each day. I'm getting on the bike. I've got every app underneath the sun to try to make it as competitive as possible. I feel like I'm in a virtual racing world on that. And I'm lucky enough to have some good people around me that are giving me some really good programs. And following government protocol, I'm trying to get out there and hit on some private courts at times when it permits with the protocols in place.
And you have to get pretty creative, obviously, during this time. Are you managing to hit any balls? You mentioned all the off-court stuff.
Yeah, look, I am hitting a few balls. I've actually all private and also following the Queensland restrictions up here. It's only 2 a court, or two visitors over at someone's place. So keeping the social distancing, I think that's really important because it really puts tennis into perspective, this virus. So I think that's first and foremost the priority, the health and safety of everyone. But where it does permit, I have been jumping out and doing a few sessions, and I've got to say the Queensland people, I love them. They've been so supportive of my cause up here, and everyone knows that I'm a passionate Queenslander. But in times of crisis, I think everyone's really come together and putting their best foot forward. People I didn't know and didn't have those relationships before this crisis. I'm so blessed to have been acquainted with them now, and everyone's just trying to get through this together, and it's been as good as it could be, I think.